When Scrooge awoke, it was so dark that looking out of bed he could scarcely distinguish between the transparent window and the opaque walls of his chamber, until suddenly the church clock tolled a deep, dark, hollow, melancholy 1. Light flashed up in the room upon the instant, and the curtains of his bed were drawn by a strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old man seen through some supernatural medium, which gave it the appearance of having receded from the view and being diminished into a child's proportions. But the strangest thing about it was from the crown of its head there sprung a bright, clear jet of light, by which all this was visible.
Are you the spirit, sir, whose coming was foretold to me?
I am.
Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
No. Your past. The things that you will see with me are shadows of the things that have been. They will have no consciousness of us. Rise and walk with me. Now, it would have been in vain for Scrooge to plead that the weather and the hour were not adapted to pedestrian purposes. The grasp, though gentle as a woman's hand, was not to be resisted. He rose. But finding that the spirit made towards the window clasped its robe in supplication. I am mortal and liable to fall. Bear but a touch of my hand. There, said the spirit, laying it upon his heart, and you shall be upheld in more than this. As the words were spoken, they passed through the wall and found themselves in a busy thoroughfare of the city. It was made plain enough by the dressing of the shops that here too it was Christmas time. The ghost stopped at a certain warehouse door and asked Scrooge if he knew it. Know it? I was apprenticed here. They went in, and at sight of an old gentleman in a Welsh wig sitting behind such a high desk that if he'd been 2 inches tall he would have surely knocked his head upon the ceiling, Scrooge cried out in great excitement, "Why, it's old Fezziwig! Bless his heart! Fezziwig alive again?" Old Fezziwig laid down his pen and looked up at the clock, which now pointed to the hour of 7. He rubbed his hands, adjusted his capacious waistcoat, and laughed all over himself from his shoes to his organ of benevolence, and called out in an oily, rich, fat, jovial voice,
Yo-ho there! Ebenezer! Dick!
a living, moving picture of Scrooge's former self. A young man came briskly in, accompanied by his fellow apprentice. Dick Hawkins, to be sure. My old fellow apprentice, bless me, yes, very much attached to me was Dick. Oh, Dick. Dear, dear.
Yo-ho, my boys. No more work tonight. It's Christmas Eve, Dick. It's Christmas, Ebenezer. Let's have the shutters up before a man can say Jack Robinson. Now clear away, my lads, and let's have lots of room here.
Clear away? Well, there was nothing they wouldn't have cleared away or couldn't have cleared away with old Fezziwig looking on. It was done in a minute. Every movable was packed off as if dismissed from public life forevermore. The floor was swept and watered. The lamps were trimmed, and fuel was heaped upon the fire. And the warehouse was a snug and dry and warm and bright a ballroom as you could desire to see on any winter's evening. In came a fiddler with his music book and went up to the lofty desk and made an orchestra of it and tuned like 50 stomach aches. In came Mrs. Fezziwig, one vast substantial smile. In came the 3 Miss Fezziwigs, beaming and lovable. In came their 6 young followers whose hearts they had broken. In came all the young men and women employed in the business. In came the housemaid with her cousin, the baker. In came the cook with her brother's particular friend, the milkman. In they all came, one after another, some shyly, some boldly, some pushing, some pulling, anyhow and everyhow. And away they all went. 20 couples at once. Hands half round and back again the other way, down the middle and up again, round and round, a very stage of affectionate grouping. Old top couple who was ending up in the wrong place. New top couple starting off again as soon as they got there. Old top couples at last and not a bottom one to help them. At this result, old Fezziwig, clapping his hands to stop the dance, called out, "Well done." The fiddler plunged his hot face into a pot of porter, especially provided for that purpose. There were more dances, and there were forfeits, and more dances. There was cake, and there was a great piece of cold roast, and a great piece of cold boiled, and mince pies, and plenty of beer. But the great effect of the evening came after the roast and the boiled, when the fiddler struck up Sir Roger de Coverley. Then old Fezziwig stood out to dance with Mrs. Fezziwig. Top couple too, and a good stiff piece of work cut out for them. There were 2 or 3 or 20 pairs of partners, people who were not to be trifled with, people who would dance and had no notion of walking. But if there'd been twice as many, 4 times as many, old Fezziwig would have been a match for them, and so would Mrs. Fezziwig. A positive light appeared to issue from Fezziwig's calves. It shone in every part of the dance. You couldn't have predicted at any given time what would have become of it next. And when old Fezziwig and Mrs. Fezziwig had gone all through the dance, advance and retire, turn to your partner, bow and curtsy, corkscrew, thread the needle and back again to your place, Fezziwig cut. Well, he cut so deftly, he appeared to wink with his legs. When the clock struck 11, this domestic ball broke up, and Mr. and Mrs. Fezziwig took their stations, one on either side of the door, and shaking hands individually with every person as he or she went out, wished him or her a Merry Christmas. And when everybody had retired but the 2 apprentices, they did the same to them. Thus, cheerful voices died away, and the 2 lads were left to their beds, which were under the counter in the back shop. A small matter to make these silly folks so full of gratitude. He has spent but a few pounds of your mortal money, 3 or 4 perhaps. Is that so much that he deserves this praise? It isn't that, Scrooge, heated by this remark and speaking unconsciously, like his former self, not his latter. It isn't that spirit. He has the power to render us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or burdensome, a pleasure or a toil. Say that his power lies in looks and words. Things so slight and insignificant it's impossible to add and count them up. What then? The happiness he gives is quite as great as if it cost a fortune. He felt the spirit's glance and stopped. What's the matter? Nothing particular? Something, I think. No. No, I should like to be able to have a word or two with my clerk just now, that's all. My time grows short. Quick. Again he saw himself. But he was older now. A man in the prime of his life. But he was not alone. He sat by the side of a fair young girl in a black dress, in whose eyes there were tears. It matters little. To you, very little. Another idol has displaced me. But if it can comfort you in time to come as I would have tried to do, then I have no just cause to grieve.
What idol has displaced you?
A golden one. You fear the world too much. I have seen your noble aspirations die off one by one until the master passion gain engrosses you, have I not?
What then? Even if I've grown so much the wiser, what then? I have not changed towards you. Have I ever sought release from our engagement?
In words, no, never.
Well, then what then?
In a changed nature. In an altered spirit. If you were free today, tomorrow or yesterday, can I believe that you'd choose a dowerless girl? Or in choosing her, do I not know that your repentance and regret would surely follow? I do. And I release you with a full heart for the love of him you once were. Spirit, remove me from this place. I told you. These are the shadows of the things that have been. They are what they are. Do not blame me.
Remove me. I cannot bear it. Leave me. Take me back. Hold me no longer.
As he struggled with his spirit, he was conscious of being exhausted and overcome by an irresistible drowsiness. And further, of being in his own bedroom, where he had barely time to reel to bed before he sank into a heavy sleep. Scrooge awoke in his own bedroom. There was no doubt whatever about that. But it, and his adjoining sitting room into which he now shuffled in his slippers, attracted by a great light there, had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were so hung with living green that it looked like a perfect grove. The leaves of holly, mistletoe, and ivy reflected back the light as if so many little mirrors had been scattered there. And such a mighty blaze was roaring up the chimney as that petrifaction of a hearth had never known in Scrooge's time, or Marley's, or for many, many a winter season gone. And heaped on the floor, to form a kind of throne, there were turkeys, and geese, game, brawn, great joints of meat, suckling pigs, wreaths of sausages, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chestnuts, cherry-cheek apples, juicy oranges, luscious pears, immense 12 cakes, and great bowls of punch. In easy state, upon this couch, there sat a giant, glorious to see, and who bore a glowing torch, in shape not unlike Plenty's horn, and who raised it high to shed its light on Scrooge as he came peeping round the door.